Okay, in this video I'm going to talk about when the bad behaviors that people can pick up from narcissistic people. Like you were one time the target, you were the victim, you're now the survivor, and of a narcissistic type person, and you picked up some bad behaviors. Like say it was your parents or one of your parents, family member, whatever. You picked up some bad behaviors, but you don't realize that they're bad behaviors. These days they call them narcissistic fleas. Okay, and this brings about this. If you run across somebody who has a bad behavior, they have this bad behavior, you're calling them a narcissist whenever really they're just somebody who picked up a bad behavior. So that's why it's not good to judge and, to diagnose. I don't ever diagnose. So, like I say, I'm not a healthcare professional provider, and when I say narcissist, it just means a behavior. Okay, now, I don't know where I left off. Had a few minutes between there. But here's one of the examples. This was something that was on my mind. And I've caught myself feeling like this. I remember feeling like this when I was a teenager. Yeah, I think I was a teenager back then. And it's when, like, something happens to you. Say you tripped over a sidewalk. You're walking down the sidewalk and you tripped because part of it was broken, busted off or something. And you trip and you fall, or you almost fall. And the immediate feeling, the feeling you have while it's happening, is that somebody's going to pay for this. Yeah, I can remember feeling that when I was a child. I remember feeling that another time, and I told Adam about it, and he was like, yeah, he recognized it too. This was years later, of course, the second time, but yeah, and it was on my mind because if you think about it, have you ever felt it? But if you think about it, you might think this is, when you having to pay the consequences of your own action, but you want to put it off on somebody else. They're going to pay for it. Like the world owes you something. It's a sense of entitlement. Now, it doesn't actually have to be that clear, clear cut. It can happen in something other than you tripping or falling, of course, but it can also be something really deep that you don't realize is that kind of sense of entitlement that the world owes you something. And how many of us grew up hearing the world doesn't owe you anything? That's kind of like the opposite extreme, to this. Okay, but I have wondered about this myself. Where does that feeling originate? What pushes it? Now, to a person who is kind of narcissistic, I'm not diagnosing, but who is narcissistic, it would be very different, wouldn't you think, from somebody that was say, an empath. I would think that calling it a narcissistic flea, I don't know, because I think what happens is when something happens to you that you feel you didn't cause. If you were a victim of a narcissist, you may feel that you didn't cause that to happen. It happened. And I think we're so used to people too much still to this day with all this enlightenment. They still blame the victim. In situations like you somehow caused it. You weren't. It's very hard to get out of that mentality. Let me get off on this subject for a minute. Because it's very easy to say, I'll even say things like when you go on a date, when you go to meet somebody, if you're going to do the online dating thing, I would say don't do that. That's just my opinion. But to be very careful in this, and then if something bad happens, I would not say you set yourself up for, that you didn't check them out well enough. But you have that feeling. You may have that feeling that this other person didn't check check the person they were meeting out well enough. That's bad. Now, I wouldn't. When I really think about it, I would never say that. I would never accuse somebody of not doing their homework, kind of thing on that. But it's very easy to slip into that because we've heard it so much. They normalize this kind of narcissism. blame it on the victim. You know, that's narcissism. So, yeah. Okay, I'm not sure where I left off on that one, but let's just move on to another one. Something else that was on my mind was how people were talking about word salad, and that narcissists do this word salad. And I kept thinking, that's not word salad, because what I mainly saw word salad in was with someone who, one person had traumatic brain injury, and the other one had a dementia, a certain form of dementia. And that's when I took the classes, that's what they taught was the traumatic brain injury, not the traumatic brain injury so much as the dementia. And they would do this word salad. Well, the word salad did not sound like what a narcissist would sound like. Hopefully I'm not getting the hiccups here. Anyway, that kind of word salad would be like somebody said, the duck yesterday, let's go, turn it around, quacks. Okay, that's a word salad. Now, that would be somebody like with dementia. The traumatic brain injury person was more of screaming out words that weren't really words. They were kind of like a combination of words, mainly. It was different. But with the word salad that they use nowadays to talk about narcissistic people is basically what I remember. I always called it when they take everything down a different road, a different avenue. They veer off into a different direction. When you ask a simple question, yes or no, they don't answer. There's no way you can get them to say yes or no, because one of the things that I personally noticed is that they won't give any commitment, because then in case they change their mind, they never said one way or the other. They make you make the commitment. Then if something goes bad, then it's your fault. Okay, now what does that have to do with narcissistic fleas? Well, you can definitely, the one with the traumatic brain injury, okay, would yell, okay? And if you've ever noticed when you're dealing with a narcissistic person who's doing the word salad and going off in different things, they're either going to tick you off or they're going to get ticked off because you're asking the same question, trying to get an answer, and they're not going to do it, and it leads to some kind of yelling. Well, the person with traumatic TBI, he would yell at the same time. This is coming all together eventually, but yeah. Okay, I think to make it come all together, it's going to take a long while. But the yelling in itself, like when this person's doing that word salad, not the TBI one, but the narcissistic one, is doing that word salad, one or the other of you might yell, or both, and you get into a yelling match, that kind of thing. Is it you having a narcissistic flea that you turn to trying to basically talk over the other one, or is it a reaction to it? That's so simple, right? Is it the reaction to it? I think that's the best way to put it. But it isn't. The yelling is not good, no matter what. I don't think, unless you're trying to save somebody's life. That's a different story. But you know what I mean. But yeah, then it leads to this, something else. Okay, now you're in a yelling match with somebody, okay, and that person is narcissistic. It's never a good idea. You know how dangerous they can be. Yeah, but then this has actually happened to me. Okay, dealing with more than one. How it can go if you see some from your childhood. You're affected by narcissists during your childhood, or any time in life really. You might tend to have run across even more and more and more until. But these days, so much more information out there. Maybe not so much as it used to be, if the person knows about it, and that's a big F. But anyway, you're having that yelling match, and what happened to me in more than once, or it was going to become a yelling match. This person was getting angry, the narcissistic person, and starting to yell real loud. My mind would say, nope, I'm not talking to this person. you know. Now, some would call it gray rock. You know, if I left without saying anything, some would say that I just went no contact. But if a narcissistic person does it, it seems like people say that's them doing the silent treatment. Okay, is it a flea? Is it a narcissistic flea that your mind shuts down? You know, it could be that your mind shuts down when they're doing that, you know, because subconsciously or unconsciously, actually, you know that, you know, or maybe you're even consciously aware that arguing with them when they're in that yelling, fit throwing thing, at any time really, is no, you know, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't, you know, it only can often lead to something really bad. But it's happened to me, and I'm serious. And just recently, even speaking, you know, with somebody who just no, not happening. But it's the zipping your lip. That's it. Nope, not giving them anything. Not giving them. That's a gray rock. You're doing the gray rock. Not giving them anything more to go on. You know, to do their little narcissistic rage. So here's another one. You know, so it's kind of difficult to really know when is the person the narcissist or when is the person it's a response, you know, to having dealt with narcissistic types or currently, you know, past or present of dealing with them. That it's a natural kind of reaction that it becomes, or, you know, the yelling thing. I had more to say on it, but I don't know. The yelling part could be, you know, like when you're a child and you're not allowed to say things, and that you do see somebody yelling, you know, whomever. It doesn't have to be your parent. It can be somebody in your, you know, like school, you know, whatever. So you see that, but you're a child and you're not, you know, that whole, you know, BS of, you know, a child should be seen and not heard. A lot of us grew up hearing that, but it's BS. But so you weren't allowed to express your emotion. And then when you get older, you respond by yelling. You know, when you get very angry or you're in one of those little wars with one of these, you express your emotion by yelling. Because what other way were you taught, right? Yeah, I think that's enough. There's more to this, but it's enough for this one video. If you want to subscribe, click the circle. If you want to watch another video on this channel, click one of the rectangles. If you want to share on your own social media, feel free to do so. And give it a thumbs up. I'll talk to y'all in another video. Bye.